And I know we would have clients coming to us, goes, oh, I installed solar panels on top of my house, and someone told me that I would get a lot of money back, and what am I doing? So, that is almost a very difficult question to say what you're doing, how much money you're saving. So it is really a breakdown of what's all there that would help you. This webinar I brought to you, it is laying the ground for you to understand what's all out there. Then I plan on Tuesday when we do the 30 minutes 3 p.m. webinar, and I will be giving 3 examples of installing solar. So it's based on this one, and on Tuesday we're gonna be upgrade that into actual expenses, dollar calculations. So that will give you a true insightful run through, and you will know that what to do for yourself. Today, what we want to accomplish is about this green initiatives. When you come to replace your gas stove or replacing your windows, what are you doing? Are you lining yourself up to possible rebate, incentives, or exemptions, or even tax credit? So what are these and how they come about? So we just want to tackle that so you know exactly what you need to do when you think of upgrading yourself that way. And this topic today is vastly focused on home, focused on personal properties. We do touch on business properties because some of the, for example, Iowa no longer have residential solar tax credit available to individuals. So we touch on that and give you the business side of things. But mainly, what we want you to come here for is to understand what you can do to your own pocket, to your personal account, to your personal residence. So that is our focus today. All right, so no responsibility disclaimer as always, because this is a free webinar and our information here is for your reference only. If you are really seriously wanting to make a decision based on the content we provided here today, and be sure to verify that again with professionals. You can come back to Community CPA and we can provide you with consultation service, or you can go to your lawyers and your CPAs and take our webinar, take our slides, and go ask for questions and making sure that you're implemented the recommendation correctly. All right, so now let's just kind of see the big picture of those green initiatives that is on the market. And a lot of times when you think of, I want to put a solar panel on my roof, I heard there's money coming back to me. I heard I probably get more money coming in slowly as a extra voltage I didn't use, and these energy company would credit me. And so it's all good, right? But you heard of this, you heard of that, and you are not sure how exactly the number would be. And you also are not sure whether these are all coexistence, or if I have one, I don't have the other one, right? So it's just like a little confusing because there's too much information. So what we are trying to do here is to really break it down for you. So, okay, folks, when we talk about green initiatives, things that make energy green, solar, or you replace gas stove with electric. So all of these green initiatives, there is 2 big parts. Like you just think of, there are 2 big parts. One is the federal initiatives. One is the state, county, and the city. I'm going to group all of them in one. So that is the local level of initiatives, then federal level initiatives. Don't get them confused because they are not the same. And you need to pursue the federal level initiatives, and you also need to pursue local. So these are separate chapters, right? So, but today I'm going to cover 3 local: Iowa, Minnesota, and California, because those are the states we have branches, right? So we have a lot of clients in these states. So I want to make sure that I home for you, for Iowans. I want you to know these are the things. And for Minnesotan, and I have a slice for you, same as Californians. Okay, here, the federal initiative on this. So first of all, the federal initiatives are all on the tax side. So it's a tax credit. So I want to generally explain tax credit. Just look at my slides. A tax credit is a dollar for dollar reduction in the amount of income tax you would otherwise owe. This is a beautiful language, right? It is not confusing. It is very to the point. It is in the amount of income tax you would otherwise owe. So, example, if you got $1,200 tax credit, that means if you need to pay $1,200 taxes that year, then you don't need to pay because your $1,200 tax credit will offset your tax bills. So, is that the same as a tax deduction? No. 1,200 tax credit equals to 6,000 additional tax deduction if your tax rate is 20%. So I assumed your tax rate is 20%. So if you give me $6,000 worth of mileage deduction, so I have to plug the $6,000 into your Schedule C, reduce your income by $6,000. That equals to $1,200 tax credit. Does that make sense? All right. And it also knows that these green initiative tax credit are non-refundable, which means that they're not like earned income tax credit or child tax credit. If you don't pay taxes, you still get it. It's like a nice deposit in your account. No, this is non-refundable means that if you don't owe taxes and the credit is not going to work, it's just going to sit there for you, waiting for the future when you end up paying taxes, these credit will magically appear, goes, oh, you know what? I'm here waiting for a couple of years already. I can offset you. So you can carry forward any additional credit that you didn't use. So no worries. And it is always there for you, okay? And the form. So because we're talking about the federal tax credit, right? All of these green initiative incentives are coming out like tax credit. And these tax credit need one form to fill out. That is a form 5695. Okay? And I want to just, end the slides right now and move you to the form. So now you're looking at 5695. And I know the forms is 2 pages long, looks overwhelming. Folks, it's not. It is give you 2 areas. Part 1, residential clean energy credit. This largely solar panel related. Okay? But what about part 2? The part 2 is energy efficient home improvement credit. This is related to the home improvement project. This is what I'm going to allude you to. So at the federal level, there's 2 areas that they give you tax credit. They're giving you that differently, not the same way. So now let me show you again, going back to my slides. And now you know that this is the credit showing up on 5695. If you have anything happen in 2023, do not forget to tell your tax preparer that you have green initiative related credit to apply. And if you don't know whether they did it or not, you can check your forms to see whether 5695 is there or not. All right? So now let's look at each part of these forms. So remember, the first one on that form, it was related to residential clean energy credit. I'm going to actually explain energy efficient home improvement credit first. That's the part 2. But part 2 is easier, so I'm going to knock it off first. Then we go for residential cleaning a clean energy credit, which is solar related, and then we roll the solar aspect all the way down to the state, okay? So if you make qualified energy efficient improvement to your home after January the 1st, 2023, folks, you may qualify for tax credit up to $3,200 per year until 2033. So tax credit, again, remember the example I was talking about? $1,200 tax credit equals to $6,000 tax deduction. Assume your tax rate is 20%. So imagine every year you have $3,200 tax credit per year. Every year, $3,200, $3,200, $3,200 every year for your energy efficient home improvement. Okay, so if you are saying that, okay, $3,200 is roughly how much of a deduction there is. So if we still assume 20%, we're talking about $16,000 tax deductions you would do to equal that tax credit. It's a lot, okay? So don't look down that small number. It carries a lot of weight. So imagine in your business, when you deduct something for $16,000, you would blink your eyes. You know that you have to have receipt, you have to prove things properly in order to deduct that $16,000. But your $3,200 tax credit is given to you when you do energy efficient improvement at your home. Okay, so now the maximum credit you can claim each year, so they break it down for you, $2,000 per year for qualified heat pumps, biomass stoves, biomass boilers. And don't ask me what is biomass boilers, but that's exactly the language I took from IRS website. So if you were into that, if some salespeople came to your house, goes, you need to have that stove, and they give you a name like that, you know that you can replace that. You got $2,000 per year, and whatever you spent, and you can use that $2,000 tax credit if your rate is 20%, and that's a $10,000 expenses that government says you don't have to pay taxes for, right? So another bullet point I have there is $1,200 for energy property cost, certain energy efficient home improvement with limits on doors. They talk about doors, windows, and home energy audits. So they want you to do that. So now, folks, if you are going to replace your windows, are you just going to close your eyes to replace your windows? No. I am going to plan it, replace my windows, maybe knowing that I have a maximum number for 1 year. Maybe that window placement can go on for 3 years. So every year I can have that credit to come in. If you don't plan money this way, folks, you don't have money. And there are differences in people, right? Some people just plan everything. Some just like, oh, I like nature take place. Mother Nature helps me, and I'm not thinking of anything. Of course, you can do that for your life. But the best way to utilize what existed from government and for doing such a good thing, energy saving, is to utilize what they're giving us. Right? So these are the things I want you to know. The credit has no lifetime dollar limit. You can claim maximum annual credit every year. Did you hear that? Every year all the way to 2033, which is 10 more years. So why not do that? Why not plan that out? All right, so much about home improvement credit. So now I want to dive into residential clean energy credit. This is separate from that home improvement credit. This is more of, I call it related to solar panel and energy saving in that regard, right? And the amount of credit you can take. We're talking about federal right now. Keep in mind, I didn't even go to the state county, local, private sectors. We didn't even go there. We're just talking about IRS, talking about that federal tax return that each one of us need to do and what we have on there. So it says that from 2022 to 2032, which is 10 years, 30%. What is 30%? 30% of expenses in the year of installation. So if you install solar panel for $20,000 in 2023, 30% that, $6,000, is coming out of the $20,000 total because the $6,000 and is going to be refunded to you and reducing your tax liability. But it is more than that, right? Remember, we calculated tax liability is not exactly like tax deduction. It's different. Tax credit offset your tax liabilities. So that means if I have $6,000 tax credit and assume my rate is 20%, that means I deducted $30,000 out of my income. $30,000. But remember, my solar panel installation was only $20,000. Did you see the math? So if the government just say that, oh, we don't care, you can install that, and you can, if it is a business, you can deduct that out of the business. So $20,000, that's not as good as 30% on the installation cost. Treat that as a tax credit. Am I right, folks? You got it? You got what I'm saying, right? So that is the 30%, famous 30% everybody was telling you. So you meet with solar panel sales guy, come around, and he'll say, well, you know, you almost don't need to pay anything. And there's 30%. And that covers all your costs. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about 30% of 20,000, 6,000. 6,000 converted to tax deduction is 30,000. That's why they're saying that it covers all your costs. Of course, not really. And because your cash effect is only 6,000. But in theory, it is really covers all of your expense. Because your tax rate normally is not more than 30%. Makes sense, right? I hope what I am famous with making complex matters simple in that regard. And I hope I honing to home for this point. So I don't want you to look at a $6,000 tax credit goes, you know, 6,000, I don't care. No, you do. You do. Because that reduces $30,000 of your income. If you have a $30,000 W-2 job, that just means that whole year you work tax-free because this solar panel, the tax credit gonna wipe out all your tax liabilities. All right, so what kind of expense may qualify? You can check that out with this website, energy.gov, government website, and the solar, wind, thermal power generation, solar weather heater, fuel cells, battery storage. And I know a lot of people are not familiar with fuel cells, and my Chinglish to explain that it is a thing. It is a big thing. It's like a big square, big box. They turn the chemicals or mechanics inside would turn the fields into electricity. So that some of the houses are powered by these. So that's why they were talking about fuel cell, to qualify, that expense to qualify for the green energy. So with that said, battery storage, that is more and more popular, and a lot of people know about that. Because when you install solar panels, if you have extra voltage you don't consume, your battery can save it. And, if you tied with your energy company, they could even give you rebate back. Not rebate back, they give you credit. So whatever you use, and they credit you for the extra contribution you made with your sun, with your energy generation, so they can use that to supply to other people, right? So you get this, what we call net meter reimbursement. So we will explain that more, but that's something the battery storage would help with that. Residential clean energy credit, and you probably goes, oh yeah, but who is qualifying? So let's look at who qualifies for that. And improvement to your main home, whether you own or rent, as long as you live in there. You can be, it can be a new existing home in U.S., and you cannot claim the credit if you're a landlord or property owner who doesn't live there. Does that make sense? Okay, so it is more made for your primary residence. You may be able to claim the credit for certain improvement made to the second home located in the United States that you live part-time but don't rent it out. But you can't claim a credit for fuel cell property if it is a second home. So scratch the last sentence so you know that it must be another home in the United States, must be a second home, but must not be rented out. So that is kind of the qualification for that 30% we're talking about, okay? And, when you use the home for business, that is a very frequent question we get. So the key is that if your home office is less than 20% of your home, you know how you calculate home office expense? There, the IRS form on there will ask you the total square footage and your office occupancy. So you will calculate that percentage, right? And a lot of people are 8%, 10%. As long as it's under 20%, you get all the credit. If you do that, you got 30%. But if you're over that, let's say your home is 50% of business, 50% of personal use, then the credit is based on share of expenses allocatable to business use. So we're talking about ratio calculation. This is where when you plan your solar kind of expenses, you want to work with your tax practitioners to understand that ratio. So you will know that how much credit you can get because you may not get the full 30%, right? And here is a list of qualified expenses, and so you can see where we are going. So solar panels, of course, panels. And you may ask me that, oh yeah, Ying, I want to know, when we buy solar panels, it is sales taxable or not? Because obviously we're the end user. When we purchase anything, if you're the end user in your state, you're gonna pay sales tax, right? And I am talking about 2 states, California, Minnesota, Iowa. And all of the 3 states, you pay sales tax. But for solar panel, and California, you pay sales tax on the solar panel. But for Minnesota and Iowa, you do not. There's an exemption by the state to exempt the sales tax for charging you. So you should naturally see your solar panel invoice, you should not see a sales tax on it, okay? Because that is how the local government decided. And so the solar panel is qualifying. So if you got a solar panel, you installed it, cost you $20,000, then you got a $6,000 tax credit. That's how that works. Of course, solar, listed solar, water heater, and, I'm not going down the whole list, but this is the list that you have. And if you ever cast a doubt on whether or not I qualify or not, then of course consult with professionals. You can obviously log on to our website and pull me out and book my time, and I'll come online and give you that decision and go through what needed to lay out what exactly you are saving. If your solar consultant didn't really put that together for you, and your CPA firm folks should be able to. All right. And of course, we talk about, when you are doing these solar project, green project, there's always, the local subsidies and rebate and incentives are coming in. So I just want to remind you that those are not, you cannot duplicate the incentive, the benefits, right? So you want to reduce. Let's say the installation is $20,000 quote, but you got a local government subsidies for 20%. So that means you need to reduce that to $18,000. So when you fill up the form and at IRS, you should not be 20,000, it should be 18,000. Does that make sense? So those incentives are outside of what the federal government incentives that you're applying. So you want to really make sure that you're calculating that properly. All right, now I want to go into the state side. So we have already covered the federal. So what's the big picture? The federal government have two categories of those tax incentives, but all of them is tax credit, all of them. And all of them is non-refundable tax credit. And all of them have a maximum number, and either they have a maximum total for a year or they have the 30% to limit you for claiming more. So with that, and you just need to know the form that you need to fill in, and instead trying to read the tax code, and you can go down the list of the form and see each item, whether that related to you or not. And of course, if you do your taxes with Community CPA, and that is one of our questions that we will have for you. And did you do anything to your home? Because almost nearly everything you do at home, and it would somewhat related to the energy savings. So remember, it is a year, 2023 is a year to really make that a regular thinking path you're going to go down every time you do home renovation. Now, other than the federal government on this tax credit side of things, then the state also have things happening. Of course, it is a moving target, right? The state or local or the city, they issue things and they tell their residents, oh, we have this, we have that. So what I have here, it is just what's available right now. But when you are getting into these type of work for your house, what I want you to do is just simply call the city. Simply call the county. Simply call the state. If you're not an internet searcher and you like to talk to people, just call them, figure out whether there's any program available for homeowners who are planning to do energy green initiative kind of home innovation, home improvement, and solar energy, installation. So make sure that you are aware that is where the money is as well. So now let's start with Iowa. So Iowa is called Iowa Solar Energy System Tax. So on the residential side, it's no longer available. It used to be in 2021, but it's no longer there. So if you are a residential, you install solar panels on your rooftop, and Iowa government don't have anything for you anymore. But the federal government still have that 30%. Remember, we talked about that, right? But when you purchase the solar energy equipment like the panels and stuff, and that is exempt from sales tax. I already mentioned that. And there's one more thing for Iowa. It is related to the property value. You know how when you have these things installed, presumably your property value goes up. And when property value goes up, the government, the county will assess property tax on you. That property tax will increase, right? In Iowa, it's about 2%. So if you installed a $20,000 panel and you sell your house next year, then 20,000 times 2%, your property value would go, your tax should go up. But what it says here is the legislature decided that within the 5 years, there's no value increase on the market value of the energy saving properties. When we say properties, is not necessarily means the bricks, the roof, the house. We're talking about the equipment, the panels. Those are properties. So those would not, they don't increase in value. So they won't consider property tax on that. And then Iowa also have this net metering in Iowa with Mid-American Energy and Allied Energy. So this is something that what means is, let's say if you pay, you know how you pay bills to Mid-American every month, but if you install solar panel and you consume your own energy there, but you had extra, so the Mid-American Energy and also Alliant Energy would credit you on the overage that you didn't use. So that is called net metering. And in reality, because I didn't really see a credit on any of our clients' account yet, so I couldn't really tell you how exactly the credit would show up. What is exactly the dollar amount? It is very complex. I did try to drill it, but it depends on the time, volume, and all kind of parameters before they calculate the refund. So it is very complex. But there is, in theory, they would reduce your bill because of the excessive voltage that you put in the grid. So with that, it's called net metering, and both Iowa and Minnesota and California has net metering, which means all three states has the capability and the legislaturely approved to pay it to you for the voltage that you didn't use. So with that said, that could be another selling point from the solar panel folks. They will say that, well, you got a lot of money, you almost don't spend any money on your solar panel, and you also get money back. They may calculating your credit for you and tell you that, oh, you're actually going to get back $100 a month, and instead of never seeing these kind of credit on your account, you would get $100 a month. That's all possible, but this is why that is available, because of a net metering with these two energy companies. And the business installation in Iowa, and it says that that qualifies for the tax credit. See, the business installation qualifies. So let's say Community CPA has a building, and if we put solar panels on our building and we use the energy, and that business has this tax credit available, but it's not residential. Now, all of the applications that you want to utilize the tax credit, and you need to apply via Iowa new system. It's called Gulf Connect Iowa. So you go through that system, you apply. But the thing is that you have to apply before May, and so application must be received by May 1st. Let's say May of 2023, the following the year of the installation of the system. So basically, you got to finish. You have to finish it. Hopefully, you finish it right before April 30th, so you can put in the application on May 1st, because it does have a limited amount. It's not like you for sure will get it. The credit is contingent upon availability of the tax credit for the particular year. You see that? So on May 1st, you need to cover all of what you did from last year, 2022, up to April 30th, 2023. So May 1st of 2023, you put that in and see how lucky you are and to get something, right? So you cannot apply and if you're not completed. So this is one of the reasons why we put the webinar out right now. It is because it's summertime, and if you're really thinking of doing that, we want you to get it done right now. Get it done before next year, April, so that way you can put it in for May 1st. This is just for Iowa, folks. If you are in Minnesota, and this is what Minnesota has. Minnesota has sales tax exemption, I mentioned that, and Minnesota has net metering with Xcel Energy. Okay, that's the company, more like a Mid-American Energy for Iowa, but it's called Xcel Energy. Xcel Energy also offers this solar reward program. It is actually funded by this Minnesota Renewable Development Funds. So it was like I think if I remember right, is a $1 billion fund they have. So they actually give you the reward by 0.07 per kilowatt per hour, and for the solar panel you installed for up to 10 years time. So that is on top of the net metering. It's not the same thing, but you also have the net metering in Minnesota if you installed solar panel. And there's another program called Solar Sense. And it's a lottery-based rebate, which means just draw of luck. And there is a phone number I gave you. You can call to find out. And that just means that if you installed solar panel on your rooftop, and you should be calling this number to get yourself registered to draw a lottery. And you will have all of your costs covered. Okay? And then Otter Trail Power also offer a incentive for public-owned buildings. For example, if you have a building that is a nonprofit organization own the building, and if you install solar panels, and then they are giving you this rebate back. And one example I have is Rush Lake near Otter Trail, and now they installed that in 2021. Now they're already generating about 130,000 cash back every year for that public-owned property. So, the reason I mention these things is not because, oh, you sure will qualify, go for it. I just want you to get a sense of, those programs. They're scattered all over the place, from the city to the county, from the county to the state. But you want to understand what's available to you. So when you know where you live, and your job is to figure out, before you commit on solar panel installation, you want to figure out what kind of possibility you have to save your money. And so really, maybe at the end of the day, you really is going to install your solar panel free of charge. Wouldn't that be wonderful, right? And so that, I'm advocating for green energy, and I think everybody should go on solar energy. But at the same time, I also know we have limitation in our pocket. But if we could figure out how much of our pocket outgoing cash flow would be, and that would make our life a lot easier, and maybe we only have cash inflow, we don't have cash outflow. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And which I haven't really seen a case like that yet, but some people would do that regardless because it's green, it's important, it is environmental friendly, and they have cash to spend. They want to do it regardless. If they got government subsidies, good. If not, doesn't matter. So those are the people already on their path to get the solar energy in place. Now, California has no sales tax on the solar panel as well. So you buy that, your invoice should not show sales tax, folks. You should remember that, right? And California has a net metering as well, but they just recently reduced it in April of this year. So I don't know how big of a credit they were giving back, but now they reduced by 75%. Pretty significant. That also means that a lot of people are on it. California is actually, I think, the second largest state and using solar panel. They have a lot of adoptions in the state, and people are into the solar panel purchase. And the solar panel purchase rebate. So you in California, and I want you to, when you buy the solar panel, and I want you to talk to the people who sell and figure out whether you can have a rebate from the seller. So that is what I'm talking about right now here. And you can check it out to see whether the solar power system has a manufacturing rebate or rebate from the carrier. So you will figure that out. And there is another program called the Self-Generation Incentive Program. This is the one that I just want you to know about it, so you can go on website and to start application, because they offer the qualifying residents incentives for new, existing, emerging energy sources, including solar battery storage system that can supply energy in the power outage. So if you were going to put in the solar battery, those batteries are expensive. And you want to figure out the incentive program, maybe you can purchase the battery, get that installed, and with a lower price. So this is something that administrated through California Public Utility Commission. So you can literally call them to figure out whether that is an incentive program you can take part or not. And there's the equity there is the Equity Self-Generation Incentive Program available to eligible customer at a rate of 850 per kilowatt hours. That's a lot of money. Okay, that's what they're giving you. They're giving you rebate back. And they call that equity of that. It's just equity in the accounting sense is the leftover, right? Is the money you have, is the wattage coming in and left over. So with this word, it just means that if you are contributing to the power, to the grid, to have the wattage available per hour, and the rebate could be 850, and in some cases and could go up to 1,000. So again, this is related to the California Public Utility Commission, and you go onto their website, you give them a call, and figuring out what you are doing and what kind of incentives you are entitled to before you move. Okay, that's really important. Of course, in California, whenever there is a California government program come out, and there is always another one that is to accommodate disadvantaged communities. So same thing with a solar panel, with these kind of green initiatives. There is a disadvantaged community single-family solar homes. So this program provides financial assistance for income-qualified homeowners in disadvantaged communities. They give you money. So you want to figure that out for single-family solar homes. So when you purchase those homes, or when you build these homes, and you would have incentives from the government, from the local government, and from the state. And eligible homeowners can save money on their electricity bills, increase the value of their homes by receiving no cost rooftop solar installation through the program run by Grid Alternatives. All right, so this is just a whole load of information for you to think. Okay, I'm not sure I am qualifying for disadvantaged communities, but I can figure that out. You can call and you can figure out, and from the Grid Alternatives to see whether you can get that installed with no cost. Okay, applicants must receive their electrical service from Pacific Gas and Electric Company. So these are several companies that qualify. So if you don't pay bills to these companies, you probably are not eligible for this particular program. So make sure that you look at this, goes, oh yeah, I remember my utility bills is by this company. So that means it is possible for you. All right. And the local utility company rebates, that's another one for Californians. There's several local utility rebate available through individual California municipals. So it depends on your location. These rebates may be available through Go Solar SF and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and the PG&E, and the Rancho Mirage Energy Authority, or Sacramento Municipal Utility District. Okay, I'm naming them because these are the places they have rebate available. Just make sure you're searching to that. Research local programs, contact your utility provider to determine which rebate is in your area. See how specific that is? So sometimes we have clients and they would come to us and want to know what kind of things are available. And if we know the time period and you are going to install or what you want to do, and we can do that research for you, but it is really, you need to have that awareness, knowing it is something that you have to do. So other than the federal overcasting 30% we were talking about, then you have these local, and all the way from the state government to county to city, and from city to utility company and a nonprofit organization. So all of these people, and they could have programs that helping you to put green initiative starting for you, and so you can have your home using green energies. So that is just all good, right? And it is not easy. It is not easy to sort that out clearly if you don't have a good understanding of the big picture. So today's webinar is really about to just bring you awareness. That's why there's a solar consultation company, folks. When you are doing solar installation, I think you meet with consultants, some of them good, some of them are not so good. And some of them only know about the federal credit. They don't really spend time at all to look into the local because they may not be a local company. And one other thing before I conclude today's webinar, it is about you knowing the company. Because when you install solar panel, do you know that's a 20 years warranty, right? And can you imagine if you work with a company, they're just going to be belly up in 2 years after servicing you? Don't do that. So you need to find a reputable and a long-term company to do your solar panel. I mean, every company can go belly up. And I mean, Tesla did a couple years of solar panel and they just pooped out. They decided not to do it, and they ceased the operation. The people who has a Tesla solar panels now need to find other people to warranty their product, right? I'm pretty sure Tesla did some aftermath cleanup, but still they went out of business. So it is really a very important decision for homeowners to do. And we don't live our home in just for 2 years. We live our home for much longer. So you want to find the solar company that has been in business for a longer time so that you can count on them to be in 20 years still warranty your product. And at the same time, even if they don't last for 20 years, at least they're reputable enough that they're good enough to be purchased by other solar companies so you can still continue your warranty, right? And folks, and don't imagine your warranty is forever. There is nothing forever in this country because president changes every 4 years. Everything else, just like baby change diapers, but you need to be vigilant about who you are talking to. And be sure to calculate your pros and cons, ins and out, cash flow before you commit on green initiatives. And I wish you good luck. And here is our contact information. Talk to Catherine at communitycpa.com and call our office if you like us to do your solar panel estimate, in terms of cash in, cash out, and we would be glad to do that with your service provider. And you can log on to our website and book our time. And I wish you good luck. And I wish every one of us has the benefit and that we take to go on to green energy path that the Inflation Act has guided us to go. And I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Remember, I will work on the examples on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we will do 3 examples. One for California, and one for Minnesota, and one for Iowa. We'll calculate in and out for the money so we see how that works out. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.